Welcome to Real Estate Real World, where we talk to the movers, shakers, and leaders that are getting it done right now in the real estate industry and beyond. Your host is Marguerite Crespillo, and she started this podcast simply to talk to cool people about what's really happening in this crazy roller coaster ride of real estate. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and stay up to date on the newest stuff by adding yourself to the list at www.realestaterealworld.com. Now your host, Marguerite Crespillo.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. I'm actually very excited to announce this is my very first podcast. And I'm super honored to have somebody incredibly special in my life who happens to be my baby brother. Now, he's not that much younger, okay? He's just a tiny bit younger. But he is my brother nonetheless, and I'm incredibly proud of him and how well he has done and how successful he has become. So my brother is Vince Scuncio, and he lives in the Carlsbad area with his adorable children, my niece and nephew, Gianni, who's going to be 17 here pretty soon. I can't believe it. Mm-hmm. And my niece Mercedes, who's now 13, right? Or going to be 13?
She's 13 and a half, yes.
13 and a half, actually going to be 14. So sucky aunt, forgot exactly how old she is. But they all are growing so fast now, and I'm pretty proud of them. So, Vince, I'd like you to just give us a little rundown about yourself. Tell us about your life and what's going on, and fire away.
Okay. Well, like Marguerite said, I live in Carlsbad, California. I moved down here almost 4 years in June. If you go to my website, vincescuncio.com, you'll see that with my bio, I've been in the real estate and mortgage business about 16 years, actually almost 17 years. And I got into it when Marguerite, I'd gotten out of the Navy, and she called me up and said, "What are you doing?" I was like, working an $8 an hour job. She said, "Come out to California, we'll make a lot of money." So I did, and we did, and had a pretty good run out of it until the market crashed in 2006. In 2006, not only did the market crash, but my wife of 18 years also passed away of cancer. So I had a really rough spot between the combination of the market meltdown, losing my wife, and just everything that happened with that. And I got into a slump that I could not dig myself out of. Around 2009, I lost, I ended up filing bankruptcy, and I ended up losing my home. And me and my two kids just kind of picked up and decided we were going to start over. We moved to Carlsbad, didn't really know anyone, didn't know anything about the area other than it was near the beach, and I wanted to be near the beach. And so I got plopped down in the middle of a place that I had no clue about and had no job, no connections, nothing. And so I just started picking up the phone. I did open houses. I joined the board of realtors. Actually, I had never sold a house before I moved down here. And,
I remember that. I was like, "You're going to go sell real estate?"
Yeah, I was a lone guy. And I struggled for a while, but it took me about, just kind of bouncing back and forth. It took me about 8 months to really land on my feet, and then I just sprinted from there. So my business is entirely attorney referral and past and present client referral based. I do not market to the public. I don't do flyers, ads, bus stops, any of that stuff. And I'm currently ranked out of, I think there's 28,000 licensed agents in San Diego County. Last year I was number 165.
That's pretty amazing, Vince. I have to give you huge kudos, for doing that. Obviously I was pretty distraught that you moved away from me, from your big sister. But, I can't blame you for going to the beach. I mean, it's a pretty awesome place. And what you've been able to accomplish is incredibly impressive, especially in a really challenging market. So, I guess I have, a few questions. When you started the real estate stuff down there and things started to go well, kind of what was that first, oh my gosh, I got this? What was your first aha that this was really the path you would want to choose?
When I could pay my bills and actually have some money left over.
There you go.
For me, I don't have the luxury of having a traditional job. I came down here, my kids were 12 and 10 at the time, and or 12 and 9 at the time, and I was a single dad, so I had to have flexibility in my job, and I had to have flexibility in going to the school functions and all that, because that's very important to me. So I had to, and not being successful wasn't an option. I'll be honest. I went down and applied for food stamps. It sucked. I was like, I do not want to be here. You always kind of go, oh, I'm not one of those people, and I was one of those people, and it was sink or swim.
Right.
And so, I really had to dig deep. What am I afraid of doing? And if you kind of take a step back and you look at your business and you go, okay, what am I afraid to do? That's usually what's keeping you from the success you want.
It's funny that you say that, because a friend of mine used to always say, if you have a fallback plan, you'll fall back.
Right.
So people are always like, well, I'm going to do this, but if that doesn't work out, I'll do this. And when you, like you did, you had no options. You had to, there's no way out but through. So you had to just move forward.
Yeah, and you have to, you get rejected and you get screwed over. I mean, I ran into some shady people when I first came down here because I had no clue. And, I got taken advantage of by some folks, and I got run over by some people. And, I went head-to-head with some giants, and I didn't back down,
No, you
and
didn't.
I think just the fact that, like you said, I burned the boats behind me. Not literally, I still had the option of moving back and everything, but for me, I didn't come to San Diego to be mediocre. I came down here to dominate, and that is my mantra.
Yeah. Tell me really kind of what you do in a day. Like, what do you do to really stay productive and focused on a day-to-day basis? Because I think one of the challenges that many people have is they all kind of look at the end, the end of it, and that's where they want to be, but they forget that there's baby steps and there's stuff you have to do every single day to be successful. So what would you say are the things that you do on a daily basis to stay focused and stay productive?
Well, the first thing I do is I make time for me. Okay, some people meditate. I work out. I go to CrossFit, or I go on a hike, or I do something for me first thing. And that time is not negotiable. I do not come into work before 10 o'clock. I drop my kids off to school. That is my time. When I get in the office, that time also allows me to kind of think of my day, what are my stressors, how am I going to react, and it really helps me to control my day instead of my day controlling me.
Right.
Because you know how it is. If you
Exactly.
in one transaction, I don't know, how many people do you have involved in one transaction?
A lot.
Buyer,
Too
seller.
many.
Too many, right? Well, at any given time, I have 17 to 20 listings, so I have all those people. And so I try to, come into the day calm. I have my daily tasks. Here's the things I have to do, the feedback and all, who I need to contact and what I need to do. I have my goals for the week, the month, the year, and the rest of my career in front of me. So I know exactly, if I'm really busy, I don't have to think about it, but if I'm slow, I look at the little piece of paper taped above my desk saying I need to sell $59 million more in houses between now and next September. What do I need to do? And that's what keeps me going, is that I'm real clear on where I want to be. You and I both we had a really good ride last time, and then it really sucked for a while. And everyone goes, God, just give me one more good market, right?
Yeah, so I won't piss it all away.
Yeah, and so I honestly believe that you'll get that that next opportunity, but if you don't remember what happened last time, you're just going to repeat yourself, and then in about 6 years, when this market crashes and burns again, there's going to be people like me that are able to retire, and there's going to be people that spent it all, have the fancy car, the fancy house, and all that other stuff, and a bunch of debt, and then they're going to lose it all again.
Right.
So
there's something that you said that you do with, tell me a little bit about how you've gotten in with the attorneys and what you do to get business from them and maintain those relationships. How did you start that?
Well, if you're listening to this, you're probably in the real estate mortgage business, I would assume. And what I don't know why it took me so long to get this, but I realized that, first of all, realtors, we think that we're the top of the food chain, right? We think that everything starts with us and it all filters down. And so if you have that mentality, you're never going to be successful business to business. What helps me is that I was a mortgage guy for so long, I was used to kissing realtor butt, and I knew that I wasn't the top of the food chain. And what I look to as a model is my title reps. I have these two gals that come by my office every week. They call on 100 offices a week between them, and very successful. But they call on offices. They make calls. They don't take it personally as someone's like, no, I'm not going to use you. They're just consistent.
Like a milk route is what I call it.
You have a route, right? Some people farm an area. Well, why wouldn't you farm a bunch of businesses? So my Tuesdays are, I'm taking donuts, as stupid as it sounds, I take donuts and cookies to all my attorney offices. And that's my sales route.
And so you've come up with kind of a list of offices that you call on?
Well, yes and no. I mean, how I pick them is that if you just try to cold call in an office, it doesn't matter what you bring in. You're not going to get past the gatekeeper, especially in the legal field. But every industry has a professional organization. So if you're going after family law attorneys, there's what is it called? It's the American Association of Matrimonial Lawyers. And there's a couple different attorney-based professional organizations, kind of like we have the multiple listing service, mortgage brokers and bankers have the MBA and whatnot. So if you want to get in front of attorneys, you go to what they're part of, right? And you go as an affiliate, and you join their organizations, and you support them. Again, you're not the top of the food chain, right? And so once you're a member of their professional organization, now you have a reason to call them. So, like, if I was trying to get in front of you, Marguerite, and I was a loan officer, if I just called you and said, hey, I got the best rates, the best programs, I'll never get through to you, right?
Right.
If I call you up and I've researched you and I know that you based on your website, because people like to tell about themselves, and your Facebook, I can say, hey, you're a master's member of the Placer County Association of Realtors, lifetime member. If I get involved with the Placer County Association of Realtors and their master's group as an affiliate, no longer am I calling you as hey, I'm a mortgage guy and here's my rates. I'm calling you and I'm saying, hey, Marguerite, this is Vince with, blah, blah, blah mortgage, calling you on behalf of the Placer County Association of Realtors Masters Club Association. How are you? Totally different call,
funny,
right?
It goes right back to, like Harvey Mackey is one of my favorite authors, and, he talks about just good old-fashioned networking is getting to know people. And
right.
I think in this social media age is that people have forgotten that the best way still to get business is face-to-face, is getting in front of them and getting to know them and who they are, good old-fashioned networking, right?
Yeah. But what do people do? They send out, I could buy 1,000 email addresses and just send out an email. And if I get one, yeah, but if you don't get one, you spend a bunch of money and time, and it went into spam.
Exactly.
And so I'll give you an example. I met with this gal the other day, and it wasn't a great appointment. I walked away from it kind of going, But I reached out to her on LinkedIn, which is a fantastic tool to get in front of people, because people add you for no other reason than you're on LinkedIn.
Right.
And I reached out to her. I said, hey, we have a lot in common. We should get together. Let me buy you a cup of coffee. And I have some ideas that I think can really help us do business together. And as I researched her, it turns out she went to the same high school I went to up in Grass Valley. Well, she went to Nevada Union, right?
Oh, wow.
And who puts that on their professional page?
Right.
So when I sat down to her, I'm like, I can't believe you went to Nevada Union High School, too. And she goes, really? And then the conversation is no longer about me trying to sell her something. It was about high school.
Right.
So finding commonality is easy. LinkedIn is a fantastic tool to get in front of people if you don't have the budget or the desire to join a professional organization.
Right.
And then you just got to, figure out what your value add to those people is, or your commonality, and pick up the phone.
So what do you think your single biggest thing that most business people get wrong? What do you think is the biggest mistake you've made in your career?
The biggest? Goodness, where do you start? That's a tough one. I think that people take no for an answer. And we both have kids, and if you think about the perfect salesperson, like my son, kid does not. If I tell him something, he will not take no for an answer. He will get to the point where I'm just like, I don't care. Here, go take it, whatever.
Eventually
right?
he gets the sale one way or another. Huh?
He gets the sale one way or another because he doesn't take no for an answer, right? And I think that, and I do this myself, is like that fear of rejection is huge. That fear of the what if, right? And it's always worse than in your mind than it is in actuality, because it's never personal to the other person. But if you could run it, if you could do one thing and you were not afraid of someone saying no, think about what would be different in your life.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, as guys, that like I have the best looking girl in the world. I would never been able to approach her I would have been afraid of rejection, right? And there's so many things in my life that you just sit there and go, I would do that, but or what if?
Right.
And if you didn't think about that, your business would be amazing.
Yeah. I think, one of my favorite quotes is the poster by Michael Jordan, and I have it outside of my office, and I've had it out there since 1996 when I opened my company, and I'll read it real quick. And it's I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that's why I succeed. And I just love that quote because I think I 100% agree with you. I think people are more afraid of no and more afraid of making mistakes, which really holds them back. It's like, what would you do if no wasn't an option? How would you move forward?
Right.
What is recently I wrote a letter, and I don't know if you got my letter of the heart yet this month, but my letter was about what is your version of success. I think that what I've figured out in life is that not only do people's versions vary so greatly, but even individually they change on a regular basis. What was important to me 10 years ago is not as important to me now. And so what would you say is your version of success? What does that look like for you?
Well, it's funny because it used to be, before my wife passed away, it was to make $1 million a year. Mm-hmm. And I always thought if I made $1 million a year, I would be successful. But I also wanted to be a good parent. Well, when my wife passed away, I didn't have a choice but to be a good parent because I couldn't go out and make a bunch of money and do that. So I had to find that balance. I'm happy with where I'm at with my relationship with my kids. They're teenagers, so, take that with a grain of salt. But it's no longer for me to make $1 million. I mean, I still want to be, in the top 25 agents in San Diego County, and I'm narrowing in on that. But you have different areas of your life. You have your business, your physical, your spiritual, your relationships, and stuff like that. For me, success is, will I be able to retire in 6 years and 6 months with the money I need to have in the bank, with my kids? I've raised my kids successfully to where they're out and they're not, still living at home at 24. I'm in a great relationship, with my girlfriend Stacy, and money's no longer an issue.
Right.
And I'm real clear on what that picture looks like for me and what I need to do to get to that point on a daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly basis.
That's awesome.
I think that the key is that we talk about this a lot. Is that you not only do you need to know where you're going, you don't really need to know how to get there. I'm one of those ready, shoot, aim kind of guys. But you at least need to know where you're heading. So if you're going to New York, you don't necessarily need to know how to get there, but you kind of got to know what it looks like, what direction.
Yeah,
the how will come to you if the why is strong enough.
I love that. That's a tweetable right there.
Yeah, right? I made that up on the spot.
Awesome. There you go. So if you could recommend only one book, what would it be? What's your favorite book?
All right, well, my favorite business book, and I know this is going to come across strange, but I love Donald Trump, okay?
Yeah,
and he's got a book, Think Big and Kick Ass. And the reason I like him is because he's unapologetically successful.
Mm-hmm.
He worked, I don't care how he got his money, he did better, if he inherited it all, great, but he took that and ran with it. And I think we all inherit something. It may not be billions of dollars, it may not be, connections or anything, but we all inherit something. Like you and I inherited kind of a work ethic, look at our family and how all of us have done well as siblings.
Right.
Mom and Dad didn't leave us anything, but we're both all of us are hugely successful in the industries we've chosen.
Right.
And I love that book because he just says think beyond what you think you can do, between him and Anthony Robbins, and just do it.
I took my boys last summer to the Tony Robbins event there in San Jose and Unleash the Power.
Right.
And it was an incredible event. Everyone should do that in their lifetime at least a couple times because it was incredibly powerful. But the thing that I got the most out of was my son Jacob, who has a tendency sometimes to kind of hold back. He's really sensitive and
right.
Sometimes struggles with self-esteem. And one of the things they have you do is walk on fire at the end of the first night. And he panicked. He didn't want to do it, right? And he got really freaked out about it. And he decided to leave. He said, I'm going to leave the event. I'm like, okay, I don't want to force him. So he leaves the event, and I was kind of sad because I really wanted to see him do it. And about 15 minutes later, he came back and he says, all right, I'm in. He goes, I don't want to have any regrets. And it was so powerful to me, not only just in that moment, but then when he actually accomplished it, that I think that's such a huge symbol for all of us, is that we want to do everything we can to just not have any regrets. And Donald Trump, I'm a huge fan of his. I don't always agree with what he says and how he does things, but that's
right.
okay too. People that I actually like people I don't agree with sometimes because they make you think. And they make you think bigger than you would if you agreed with everything they said, right? The world needs
right.
more leaders, less followers.
Right.
So I love that, and I think that it's pretty powerful. So here's one of my other questions. I've only got a couple more, and then we'll wrap up. What would you say to your younger you?
Is this on your list?
No, it's one I threw in. Because I thought about it the other day. It's like if you could go back to when you were starting your real estate, your mortgage business, or even go back to like when you're 22 and you just think, oh my gosh, things are. What would you say to you?
I think I'd say a couple things. One would be you're going to be amazingly successful. Don't ask me how, just believe it. And think about how that would change your world if you knew no matter what you do, you're going to be amazingly successful. You would just approach life like I can't fail, right? And I would also tell myself, be patient, take risks, and don't quit. Because I think what you regret when you quit more than failing.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Quitting is pain is temporary. Quitting is forever. And the things that I quit I carry with me longer than the things that were just painful at the time.
That's awesome. So here's another one. What do you think that your 11 years in the Navy taught you? What do you think the greatest lessons from that were?
As simplistic as it sounds, show up.
I like that.
You don't have a choice, right? You have to be there. You can't. The thing about the Navy is if you're sick, you have to come in so they can confirm you're sick. You don't get to call in sick.
Right.
You never get to be late, ever. 2 minutes late will destroy your career. So most of life, most of the success that I've had has just been simply being where I say I'm going to be.
Yeah.
And
so
it's not that difficult. I mean, it's just, hey, because you never know where that opportunity is going to come. And, I'm punctual to a fault. And I am a man of my word to a fault. And I look out for others to a fault. But I'm always where I'm supposed to be. I'm always where I say I'm going to be.
Yeah.
And I a lot of agents, I remember being in this office and someone was, kind of asked that question, well, how do I stay motivated? How do I, what do I do to stay motivated? And, what can I change? I go, well, first of all, show up. You're never here, right? You're never in the office. You always have life going on. And look at your checkbook. If you like that number, go home. If you don't, show up.
Oh,
Simple.
I love that. There's another little tweetable for us. I like that. Yeah, my favorite book is Do the Work by Stephen Pressfield.
Yeah,
and it's just a short little simple book. But I think that is huge as well. It's like, look, show up and do the work. If you just do, eventually things will come through. Things will continue to move forward.
Yeah, do what you love to do. Don't try to do what everyone else wants you to do.
Oh, exactly. That's the thing I would say to my younger self. Do what you love. The money will come.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah. So tell us one thing that is working really well for you in your business right now.
You know what's working really well for me? If you go to my website, you'll notice that I'm the attorney's realtor, and I branded myself that way. The biggest thing that I think what happens in real estate and mortgages is that there's so many things that you can do that other people have had success at, that people get overwhelmed by it, and they try to do everything and they get crappy results. Right? A good example is like realtors. Send out just listed postcards. This agent over here got 2 listings out of it, and you're like, woo, I'm going to do it, and you spend $1,000 and you get nothing.
Right.
For me, I'm a little ADHD, and I get pulled off on these tangents. And what I realize is that I got to stick to what I do well. What I do well is interacting with other business professionals such as attorneys and CPAs and financial planners. That's what I'm great at. I don't go consumer direct. I'm not doing just listed mailers. I'm not farming areas. And what I'm doing is I'm taking a little of my experience as a mortgage guy of, hey, if you're helping someone on a loan, there's usually 2 agents on that transaction. Try to wow them both.
Right.
Well, it's the same with a divorce, right? If you're representing one person in a divorce, there's a husband and he's got an attorney, or vice versa. Now you've got 2 people to market to.
Right.
And that seems to be working well for me. Besides my letter from the heart, thank you, Joe Stump, and Evidence of Success, which I send out religiously every month. I delegate what I hate, and I'm consistent as far as I am scheduled to go out and make calls every single week, and I'm always trying to add more attorneys, increase my LinkedIn, increase my Yelp reviews, increase my Google reviews, increase my database.
I love when I went to your website to check it out in my research, I loved that you call yourself the attorney's real estate agent, because what I've found, I agree with you, is that too many agents and business owners in general try to do too many things. And what I've found, there's a great little line that says, get rich in your niche, is choose a niche. Yeah. And when you choose that niche, then people now know that's who you are. Like a great example is, you actually know her, Liz Baeza.
Yeah.
And she has marketed herself as the reverse loan officer. She knows reverse loans inside and out. Now, I know that she can do other loans, regular loans, but if somebody starts talking about a reverse mortgage, I instantly think of Liz.
Right.
She's the first person I think of. And if I were an attorney and I were looking for a realtor and I saw that all you did was deal with attorneys, I would go to you.
Right.
So I think when people try to do too many different things is when their business gets diluted. So I think that it's brilliant that you have branded yourself that way. And I just think it's one of the best things I've seen you do. So it's really impressive, because that's all people will think about, and that's what you do. You deal with attorneys. That's what you do.
Well, you'd be amazed at how much negative feedback I got from that, though.
Really? From who?
Well, from my peers, right? Because they're like, well, what if someone wants to sell a house with you? What if da-da-da? And I'm like, I am not consumer direct. I am business to business. I work with attorneys. Yes, there may be somebody who has a house they want to sell, and they're going to go to my website and say, well, he only works with attorneys. Okay. Right. But you're not going to please everyone, ever.
Yeah.
And so, I think that branding has really helped me. It's really opened doors for me. And, like I think of my buddy Zishan, who was the condo king.
Yeah, I still remember him that way, exactly.
But he had a thing. He goes, the thing that you and I have in common is that we are volume producers, right? There are I remember back in the day, there's this gal who, you guys have a master's club up in Sacramento. We don't have that down here. She made masters, which I think at the time you had to sell like $2 million in real estate, which was a lot back then when we were doing $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 houses, right?
Right.
She double-ended a transaction and was on the master's board, or made masters. And I was like,
right.
Really?
Yeah.
But she never made it again after that.
Right.
Because she did one transaction. One-shot wonder, right? Where you get, what I like about Zishan, and you and I do this, is that he was like, I'm just going to do a bunch of volume. And he was doing $70,000 deals, just like you, right? You're boom, 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 doing a bunch of them. And then, those values go up. And you're still doing 5 deals a month, and you're still doing 5 deals a month. But now, instead of them being $80,000, $100,000 deals, or 2, 3, 4, 500, all of a sudden you're making, $600,000, $700,000 a year.
Yeah, I keep saying I'm going to just start flying to Carlsbad once a month and sell a house down there, where the average sales price is $900,000 or something crazy.
Not mine. I think my average. I did 62 transactions last year for 20. I was just shy of $21 million.
So here's the other end of that, Vince. I did 108 deals last year, and my volume was just under 21 million. So I still had to do double the transactions that you did but I have to tell you, I'm incredibly impressed that your first 3-4 years in real estate, you've just about outdone your sister. So pretty proud of that.
Yeah, but you still kick my butt up there in volume. The numbers, the volume will come with the numbers.
Yeah, that's true. Well, do you have any questions for me?
No, we talk all the time, so I kind of have the inside scoop and everything like that. I guess what I would ask you is, what's next for Marguerite Crespillo?
Well, I'll tell you what's next for me is that I've been in real estate now 20 years, and as much as I love the day-to-day production, and I still love real estate, my true calling is, and what I love more, is really training and coaching and leading into that direction. So I'm really excited to be building a training and marketing company, and you're my first person on my podcast, and
I'm honored.
And I'm really excited to do that, to do a lot more training and coaching and helping real estate agents and business people in general learn to be their own version of success and kind of creating that balance. I think that entrepreneurs and salespeople as a whole seem to be incredibly successful in business, but really struggle in their personal lives.
Right.
High divorce rates, high kid issues, and a number of other things. So if I can help contribute to that in any way, that's my calling, and that's what my hope is to do over the next few years. Now that my kids are almost gone, 17 and 19, my son is graduating here, that I got to find something to do with my life other than kids.
Well, we'll be there for it.
Absolutely. Well, Vince, thanks again for taking the time to talk with me today. Again, I'm really honored to have you on this first call, and I'm really, really proud of you. And thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure.
All right. Have a great day.
All right. See ya.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you for joining us today on Real Estate Real World, where we talk with masters and leaders in real estate and beyond on how we can raise the bar in our industry. Please subscribe over on iTunes. And while you're there, be sure to give us a review. Your reviews encourage us and help others find our podcast. For show notes and hot topics on what's going on right now in our real estate industry, pop on over to www.realestaterealworld.com and add your name to our email. Thanks again for listening. And go out there. Be a part of the elite masterclass in raising the bar on the real estate industry.